Throughout Toby Fox's games, he has delivered time and time again relatable, meaningful, and overall well-written LGBTQ representation. From lesbians to gays to transgender identities, Toby Fox is able to write characters the community adores. Therefore, adjacent to my headcanon videos, I want to make a series where I highlight some very popular interpretations and commonly underrepresented identities that I personally think can be found in Undertale and Deltarune. We'll start with AroAce. Now, is it a little sad that I have to label the representation as present as if you look for it rather than just present? Yes. But I think it's still a win that so many different people happen to headcanon the same characters as Aro or Ace or both, and additionally, that so many characters seem to embody traits or clues that hint to this identity. I firmly believe, with LGBTQ rep, we don't always need it spelled out for us, and headcanoning is important and fun to fandoms. This is especially true in a game that already has canon LGBTQ characters, allowing us both the rep we deserve and the flexibility to pick up on subtlety and shape it the way we want. Hopefully, this video could show you guys some characters you may not have thought of as AroAce are actually exhibiting some relatable traits and actions, and that this video is like the extension or DLC to my headcanon videos. I plan to do this with a few other identities that I think multiple characters exhibit, and would make for an interesting discussion video, taking pride, pun intended, in my title as a queer Deltarune YouTuber. Let's talk the center stage man who's front and center on my thumbnail, AroAce Berdly. Anyways, hear me out. Berdly is AroAce rep if you choose to see it. Now, I'm not AroAce, so I wanted to find, some experiences from AroAce people. So as you may know, I made a form, and I sent it out on a few platforms. But first, let me give my own quick opinion. I personally interpret that Berdly's constant desire for crushes and ability to just switch them willy-nilly is an example of compulsory romanticism, which is basically the desire to experience romance because society has convinced you it's a necessary part of human experience. And Chapter 5 really solidified this for me with the festival scheme. Berdly literally goes down the line asking the group to be his date. And yes, he does think everyone likes him, but that to me is also from his compulsory romanticism. Poor Berdly, he doesn't realize you don't have to date anyone and can just have a queer platonic relationship if you want. And now, here's what I've gotten for Berdly that strikes me as interesting. A user by M wrote, "Yes, I thought he could be AroAce since I first played the game. All of his romantic interactions with Noelle and Susie came across to me as someone who doesn't know what romantic feelings are supposed to be like. So he just decides that he must have a crush on anyone he has positive feelings about. As an AroAce person myself, I find this very relatable, as I also decided to have crushes on people who were nice to me. The scene at the festival also resonated with me. Most of the time, if allo-romantic people who do experience a typical romantic attraction, are told that their crushes don't like them, they get at least a bit upset. Berdly just went, oh, and moved on immediately to supporting Suzelle and being really happy for them, which was both really cool to see and shows that he probably didn't have very strong romantic feelings for either Noelle or Susie. This resonates with me because when I decided that my crush wasn't worth it, I just decided to stop having a crush on whoever it was, and that was it. I've since learned that this isn't typical for most people, and it makes me believe even more that Berdly is AroAce. Thank you for the submission. Making up the way he reacts to crushes is such a smart little piece of the puzzle. No part of him is distraught at all, leading me to believe maybe it never really was romantic to begin with. Ask the Seven states, both. I think his attitude towards romance and crushes indicates that he doesn't fundamentally understand them, and is only acting if he does to both fit better into his persona, as well as allonormativity being present in the universe of Deltarune. True, I think it both benefits Berdly's made-up persona, as well as what's expected of kids his age. An anonymous user brings up, yes, I really like the AroAce reading of him. I think it would be really good representation. It would make for a good story. I don't think it would ever get outright said in the game, but if the game is going on that direction, I think it would just strongly allude to that idea. But that's just one of the interpretations for now. And in a different interpretation, I like shipping him with Chris. Both of these ideas exist separately, and I just like the possible narrative implications for both. Same as I feel with most ships. I have favorites, but all have great possibilities for a great story, so I like all of them. Yes, I also love Berdly, so I'm glad someone agrees that with media, you can believe multiple things separately. If Berdly was confirmed AroAce, then it'd be a different story, obviously. Hoshi says, "Oh, he's absolutely an attention-starved AroAce." I'm pretty sure Chapter 5 might support this reading even more, considering how he reacted to being rejected and Noelle telling him about the date. Like, they tell him they don't want to go on a date with him, and he's literally just, oh, okay. Like, come on. He's also hella relatable and my second most relatable character in the game. Noelle taking the first place after this chapter. I feel like other people have much better insight on him, but I'll still try. Don't worry, Hoshi, I like your insight. So, he has this very caricature-like understanding of love and doesn't seem to understand the difference between platonic and romantic attraction. Him being socially inept is also something a lot of AroAce people struggle with, but that might be more of a sign of autism, to be honest. Generally, it's hard for me to explain why he feels so much like an AroAce person, but that's mostly because despite everything, it's a very internal thing. Like, what made me realize I'm AroAce is that I never had a crush, and that I can't define what romantic attraction feels like. That's something you don't really say out loud. Considering Toby's characterization is usually subtle, and most of all natural, I don't think any of his characters would show the "I'm 100% AroAce" signs. I don't want to be with anybody type shit. I totally agree. Berdly may never come out, and that's where this whole series stems from. Toby's subtle and natural writing of LGBTQ characters, because that in itself is admirable, and it is something to talk about. Wiseforcommonsense brought a bit of a new opinion. Ace. I don't think he has any sexual desire, but he wants to be desired because he is at an age where everyone is doing that. But I don't think he's actually interested in anyone sexually, but wants to be loved and be in a romantic relationship. Of course he doesn't have many friends, so he doesn't have anyone to put these feelings onto. And then it turns into him mistaking friendship as something else, especially since he desired friends. I could get behind this theory as well. He at least definitely desires friends, and I could see him also wanting romance, but not anything else, such as a sexual relationship. Everett has some good thoughts too. Yes, definitely. His behavior in Chapter 2 screams compulsory romanticism. He just thought he was in love, and he wanted it. When he realizes he doesn't like Noelle romantically, he immediately jumps to liking Susie, because she showed him an ounce of kindness. During the festival, he is really fast to accept the rejection from Noelle and Susie, which of course shows how much Berdly actually cares about Noelle. But I think it also shows that he didn't care about romance in the first place. Berdly cares about validation, and romantic relationships can often feel validating, because if someone likes you, it can feel like you're actually worthy. Another thing, the stereotypical teenhood is often about romance, experienced love for the first time, crushes, etc. And of course Berdly could feel like he wants to participate in these things to feel normal, even though he doesn't feel the same himself. I totally agree, especially about Berdly only doing this to feel validation. I think a lot of people focus on his possible backstory or his upbringing, and that is a very prominent thing that they mention. Soup says this. Berdly is a character that, despite my initial annoyance with him and the way he can sometimes be, I find myself relating to him a lot. Being a gifted kid with unfair expectations set on them, hating feeling stupid or not perfect, and in my opinion, faking romantic feelings because you think what you just have to do. He loves Noelle as a friend. We can see in the weird route that he genuinely cares for her and tries to save her from whatever it is he thinks Chris is doing. But he's not in love with her, and he thinks just because she's a friend, and she's a girl, that she must like him, and therefore, he must like her back. Throughout Chapter 2, he realizes this isn't the case, but only because a different girl has shown him any semblance of affection. I hope I said that right. Susie. She empathizes with him as best she can, and he thinks that she must like him now. That is not what that's like him like that too now. Therefore, he has to as well. He even chickens out of a kiss, which could be seen as him just getting embarrassed because Susie didn't understand what he said, but I like to interpret as him realizing he really didn't want that. The way he acts in Chapter 5 after realizing Susie and Noelle are on a date together instead is also strong evidence or headcanon fodder for me because he is so quickly shifts gears into supporting them. He doesn't have an inkling of jealousy, he is not the inferno of jealousy. Despite claiming to be in love with Susie near the end of chapter 2, and trying to ask both of them on a date to the festival in chapter 4. Even if you vote for him as king and Noelle as queen, he either makes a joke about everyone competing for his love, or talks about promoting Suzelle's love. It's like he only does these things because it's what expected of him, which to me is a very AroAce experience. And once again, I totally agree. You're bringing up a lot of great and important points, and a lot of impactful details. I really like your response. Thank you. Finally, get ready for this. JoelTheParrot has quite the entry, in a good way. I'm not trying to be rude, but do strap in. Okay, so going into this, I was like, well, I'm a Berdly fan, so it's not like it would be my primary headcanon for Berdly. But after thinking through the fluidity of the aromantic spectrum, as I thought of all different headcanons for other characters, which I did not mention, but that is the first question on the form, which we will get to, ironically, at the end of the video. Not all aromantic people will be violently, damn, you guys use some big-ass words, against the idea of being in a relationship, even if it's not something they enjoy from their orientation. This line of thinking might have ended up flipping my tune. So for starters, we know Berdly represents compulsory romanticism within his story. It is literally how he feels about Noelle, and it's also how he relays the idea of being a date for Noelle, Susie, and Chris. And honestly, thinking about it, I think his crush on Susie in Cyber City was also compulsory romanticism. He's shown a bit of affection from someone he didn't expect, worth noting culturally that it's a girl and it's a boy, and he's like, oh, I must be in love with her now. The way that he goes, such thoughts, such feelings, might be paraphrased due to memory error, when he is waking up from the dark world comes off as, oh, he is lying to himself because he thought his character development was a dream. So his acceptance of Susie and reflection on how he treats Noelle is only partial. But I think there's a nugget of truth to it. He doesn't actually like the idea of romance with Susie. He was just swept up in the moment. I mean, he throws around a bunch of Dure terms for anime, which is something that places a lot of emphasis on romance quite frequently. But he doesn't use them very well, aside from the Tsum cactus, which of course foreshadowing that Chris, the original namesake of the cactus, is a tsundere in regards to Berdly. What else would it be? When Susie is simply asking him to speak up, he's whispering at a volume that only Chris can hear, that it's such a tsun to his ears. I hope I'm saying that right, I'm really trying, in reference to tsunderes. But aside from the fact that removing dure from tsun just makes it something like hatred, since the left part is the dure, which is probably just because Berdly is not culturally knowledgeable, since his smarts are performative, much like his romantics. Asking someone to speak up isn't really all that rude, she's straight up not being a tsundere to him, masking romantic feelings with aggression of similar grandeur. But he jumps to that label, because he's performing romanticism. He's trying to make himself have a crush. Then, as I'll mention again later, he calls Susie a yandere, because Noelle stopped talking to him on the phone after Susie told him Noelle's not going with him, which a serious face sprite, as if he knows Susie did something wild to Noelle to make her stop or something. I mean, past chapter 2, I don't think we even get the impression that he likes Susie any more than Noelle, who he straight up turns down in the dark world when he thinks he's supposed to move on to Susie. When he thinks he's talking to himself, which is accurate, because he is for some time, since the phone was thrown, he says she's gone yandere for him, because he thinks she has to have a crush on him, much like he thinks Noelle has a crush on him, and knows Chris has a crush on him. I mean, thanks, it's not canon, but I mean the feather blush, so maybe. I like how you're simultaneously arguing for Berdly and for AroAce Berdly, you are peak, I get you, you are me, we are the same. So he prepares to be her pity date as an act of charity, and he's talking about his rationale. Susie's loneliness, which would actually be accurate before chapter 1, by the way, gotta give him some props. To himself, he isn't trying to hide his crush with the act of charity or anything. I think he genuinely realized he doesn't like her romantically, but is going through the same thing as he did with Noelle, where he thinks she has a crush on him and he feels like he has to reciprocate. I mean, when he figures Susie and Noelle are both dating each other, he isn't flustered by missing out on Susie or anything. Like, yes, I appreciate that he just immediately supported despite romantically pursuing them, but I also think the idea was that he was giving up on his crush on Susie, and then that it'd be more significant point, even if it was in the way that wasn't obvious to the characters, and still had him being fully supportive of the relationship, such as him just mumbling to himself about how he likes Susie as an initial reaction. He is just an aromantic guy who is very supportive of sapphics/romance, like that one guy from Bloom Into You. I really need to read that manga. I've only seen the anime. I haven't seen either. Anyway. Yeah, I just don't think he actually fell for Susie. Since Berdly x Ralsei doesn't have much grounds anyway, that leaves Curly. Realistically, Joffington x Berdly has less than Berdly x Ralsei. Come on, let's just move on. I like how you're weighing all the ships. That's something I would never do. This feels like when people, like, entertain Rudy Knight theorists. Like, yeah, Berdly and Ralsei. I think they probably shared, like, 4 words together in Chapter 2. I love you guys, and I love shipping and fandoms, but no, we're not bringing that into this discussion. Well, aside from the fact that it finally clicked that Berdly doesn't even have to be 100% aromantic anyway, I could just see it being something he does with Chris. Chris very much seems to have a soft side for Berdly to some degree, especially with that heavy blush while they were holding Berdly's feather. Okay, to be fair, they could also just be hella embarrassed because fuck you got Berdly's feather for. Like, it's kind of like, or they could be blushing because you know the reaction when we say, like, oh, you're going to the festival with Berdly. They're, like, stunned. Maybe it's some, like, some act, like some tsundere act up here, yeah. So when they have the feather, they're like, it's not like I like him or anything. I like where you're going. I see it. It's peak. It's peak. Now I could kind of see Berdly trying to return those romantic feelings as being seen as the compulsory romanticism that he went through with the other 2 dominoes. I don't think that'd necessarily be something fleshed out in the story of Deltarune. I agree. With the way it's going, unless Noelle is unavailable and Susie resorts to recruiting Berdly instead, which I could honestly kind of see happening with some comic relief scene of them having sloppily covered up all the Noellisms in the My Castle town, redesigned to be Berdly themed. But I think it might be hard to balance that with Noelle's character, and I think end of Chapter 5 setup is very much giving an expectation of getting a lot of Noelle content. That'd be bad to fully subvert. Although ends of chapters have rarely been all that truthful. You read about the Chapter 1, Chris didn't do anything violent. Chapter 2, Toriel is largely not a part of the chapter, and Chris is not the knight. Chapter 3 doesn't really hint towards the next chapter since we get them all at the same time, but come to think of it, we were left on that for some time. We probably theorized the next Dark World was in the bunker, starting with Chris alone interacting with the knight. Chapter 4, main route doesn't allude to a specific thing. Weird route made it seem like we would go to the festival with Noelle. Maybe they formally recruit thing. Weird route made it seem like we wouldn't go to the my fault. Maybe they formally recruited Berdly, but then Noelle becomes available soon after that. My current theory is that through some means, there will be a lot of smaller dark fountains opened up at the same time, so maybe Noelle would be stuck up in one, and you'd be forced to go into first with Berdly as an extra party member. But that's kind of a barrel of assumptions. Oh, and it'd also be very route dependent, since Berdly is self very route dependent. It'd be hard to give Berdly a proper spotlight, but just in headcanons, Berdly could struggle with the relationships due to the way he's trying to manage it from a romantic perspective only for Chris, and Berdly to reform the relationship in a way that is healthy for Berdly, but still considering romantic to some degree. Back to the Bloom Into You comparisons, because I guess Berdly just brings that out of me. The main couple of the show starts out with a fully romantic character being quickly romantic with the character who is somewhere on the aromantic spectrum, leading to a conflict where they don't really form a relationship at that point, but there's still potential for them to form something with a better consideration of closeness. I would also like to mention that while Chris seems to have a former platonic relationship with Berdly, with them sort of talking about it at times, such as how Berdly, if his arm is hurt, says he hopes that when his arm gets better, he can have another gaming session with Chris. They clearly are on a wavelength like Chris and Susie's quirky formed deep closeness. And I think if Berdly could be closer to Chris, more open to them, more accepting of their weirdness. Something special could form, with the romantic intent from Chris sort of shaping it as something different from how Chris and Susie's situation goes. Although again, Berdly could be somewhere on the aromantic spectrum, where he'd formed feelings for Chris too, possibly specifically due to this increased closeness, since some people only feel romantic at all towards someone they're already very close to. I wonder if that's simply more realistic, or if the idea of someone who is 100% aromantic, but not repelled by romance, being incapable of being in a loving relationship is oversimplifying things. I'm excited to learn from this video, yay! So yay. I guess now I'm sort of an Aro spectrum Berdly X. I don't know their specific orientation, but they seem very romantically open. Chris Curly shipper now. Thank you very much again for this accidental thought experiment that stemmed from you asking our thoughts on AroAce Rep and Undertale and Deltarune. I feel like I have a more thorough idea of how I think of Berdly now, and Berdly is cool, so I appreciate that. You are so welcome, and thank you for all of that. Oh my gosh. Wow. No notes, because you honestly said it all. I didn't want to just cherry pick any part of this. I know I made some comments throughout reading it, but because you truly just painted the whole picture. The whole picture. You gotta get into video essays or something, alright? Anything. Talk about something, because you're good. I should jump segments briefly. Joel also talks about their experiences not choosing a label, and yes, I didn't screenshot this and want to share it, but I will kind of recap it. I don't know if it was just a bit too personal to put on here, but I'd rather just recap it. Not choosing a label and yet genuinely having an aversion despite this. And I wanted to say two things. That's so valid. You do not need a label, and you just like me for real, for real. Personally, I started using the umbrella term of ace just because I'm repulsed by sex in a way I could never explain to others. So letting them believe that I just don't feel any sexual attraction works out the best. And then people who do know a bit more and, know that just because I use the label doesn't mean I don't feel any sexual attraction at all can then, draw those conclusions, ask those questions, and have those conversations with me. But yes, to be honest, I use the label simply because it made more of an ease for me. So this is a good segue into the next section, where I asked people their specific experiences with being AroAce, so I can gain a better understanding and use it to explain some thoughts and characters' identities, also to educate. So let's get into that. Mouserz wrote, I'm AroAce and my experience is a bit complicated. I used to be very romantic, crushing on others frequently until I got to my first serious relationship. I realized that I did not experience romantic attraction. The way I crush on others is more of an admiration and a desire to make them happy. I'm simply not interested in romantic or sexual relationships. Being in a relationship was not fun, because I felt like I had to prove to my partner that I loved them through intimacy or romantic gestures. I simply did not enjoy it. I would much prefer spending time with my partner, doing hobbies together, making jokes, gifting them presents, or any other kind of platonic act of love. Because of this realization, I ended up ending the relationship. I feel very guilty for it, as it doesn't feel like enough justification for ending the relationship, and I couldn't give my partner the experience they wanted. This realization is important and common. I feel like what typically happens in the community is no one can really define a crush until you've experienced one, or until you've entered a relationship. And because romance is always the expectations, it can lead to rushed relationships. And then it takes an additional layer of introspection to decide, are you just not attracted to your current partner, or do you define with one of these labels? This confusion and complexity is sometimes why Aro and Ace people are not being written into media, making characters like the silly bird who acts like everyone wants him for real, something the community can dissect and look into. And Mouserz, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I'm so sorry you went through something like this. I know that can be very tough, and I think you handled it well and with a lot of maturity. And thank you also for letting me share this. An anonymous reply says, I'm AroAce, and I think something that isn't mentioned enough, just in my experience, is how hard it can be to actually understand romantic or sexual love. I've tried to grasp it many times, but I legit cannot wrap my head around it, even when others talk about it. I feel really disconnected from the whole idea of romance, to be honest, and I feel like the rep I've seen from media doesn't ever delve into that side of the identity. It can be really hard, and can make me feel like I'm fundamentally different from other people, or that I need to be fixed. I feel separate from the rest of the world since so much of it feels so focused on something that I genuinely cannot grasp or feel. I also have felt pressured by the people around me, mainly adults, to get into relationships, or to get with someone, even if I haven't ever shown any interest in that sort of thing. It's really bothersome, and it can make me feel like my identity isn't valid compared to other queer people who have a more recognizable identity. Most people I come out to also aren't even aware that AroAce people exist. It definitely feels like a very hidden identity sometimes. Now this again is a super important message. It's part of the reason why I'm making this video. I'm sorry so many people in your life, and the lives of other Aro and Ace individuals, force their expectations onto you unfairly. I totally relate to feeling invalid, even within the community, and it's part of the reason why we need to stick together and make things such as this video. It sucks how much, even in the community, Aro and Ace people need to continue to fight. But with education and support, I know things will get better. In a lighter note, Sand said, I have 2 partners who are both allo, and this situation works out perfectly. I get love and attention, and they do allo stuff with each other. This is why I really want Chrysosocial polycule theory to be real, and I want Chris to be the puppy. This is the dream timeline. That actually does sound like the dream timeline. I'm asexual too, and that sounds like such a perfect dynamic in your relationship. I had to include this, it made me smile. It also shows just how different all Aro and Ace people are in their experiences and relationships, helping educate people about these labels. I am super grateful for all of you who felt comfortable enough to share your experiences and allow me to share them online. That takes bravery, but through this, we're engendering a lot of education and impact. So thank you all again. And I'm sorry if I did not include your personal experiences. I hope that you understand I couldn't include anyone. I'll mention it again at the end of the video, but hopefully there's a way I can publish the responses if anyone wants to go through and read what people have said. And now, the most fun part. I asked on the forum for some personal headcanons that you may have about Undertale and Deltarune characters, so I wanted to rapid fire list all of them that were notable. We're kind of doing a tally mark system. Good luck, future me who has to edit this. Mouserz says, Queen could be AroAce as she seems more interested in cat memes than romance. This is funny, especially because she is called herself everyone's ex-wife. So, I kind of love that. Spiky B on Tumblr brings up Caddy's dad saying that he's, like, friends with his wife in a way that implies that they're not, in love, making him allo. I never even caught that. I love that. River1221 mentions Papyrus and naps the book. Immediate yes. Also AroAce Chris, because, and I quote, they feel like they could just have this sort of AroAce but is the freakiest person you know thing going on. And yeah, that is funny. So yes. I like how you mentioned it's kind of hard to ship a queer platonic relationship currently because there isn't a lot of works out there. So let's all make more, guys. Alright, go write fanfiction. Anonymous brings up Rule's card, which is unexpected but always appreciated. The idea of him thinking people get into relationships because of status is hilarious and very in character. Yes, I agree. Green and Task Manager also AroAce icons. By far the most peak one, you said Pink's ghost being demi-romantic because they hate flirting with people they just met. That's peak. You know I love Pink. M brings up AroAce Chris and how Susie and Noelle could date and then be in a queer platonic relationship with Chris. That is a peak idea. Hoshi says Sans and Papyrus are somewhere on the AroAce spectrum. Yes, I agree. Bluegie as Ace, which is now becoming one of my favorite, you guys pointed out for me, as well as Chris, Rouse, and Seth possibly being Ace. Love these. Sand said they projected their AroAceness onto Chris a lot, which is valid. JoelTheParrot brings up Sans could either be aromantic or, and I quote, epically gay. Papyrus once again, which I love. Bluegie, who would accidentally get into a relationship. Yes, I totally see this. We're just Metaton with no explanation. I like that. Shippers might not, but I do. Rouse and Rule's card again. King and Queen. Seth and their possible infatuation rather than feelings, Monster Kid, Snowdrake, Jockington, Azrael had compat, Ram has no interest but would participate in a relationship for the fun, Gerson's past partner had an intellectual infatuation, and Capit. I like your version of Deltarune. I'm invested in AroAce Room. I also still find it silly that you didn't even really look all that much into AroAce-ness until this, which is the point of the video, so thank you. You're like my living example. Allium/Spinneroos47 on Tumblr has said Chris is AroAce, Susie Ace Spec, Papyrus Arrow, and Sans AroAce, as well as Asgore and Gaster, Grey Romantic, and Grey Sexual. All of these are so peak. Danika adds another point to Napstablook. I now love that, Napstablook AroAce. Anonymous reports Rase, Rules, Papyrus, and Blukey, which is funny, because we are just all thinking the same line of thoughts. Like, there are a few characters that are being thrown out, but it's mostly the same people. We are all the same. Deltarune fans are all the same. Wiseforcommonsense lists out Berdly Asexual, Flowey AroAce, Frisk AroAce, but more demi-romantic, Toriel as Ace, specifically demisexual, Azrael AroAce, and Papyrus Asexual. It's funny because we have some of the exact same ideas. Like, I always thought Tori was also demisexual, so I totally agree. Another anonymous, Chris vote for Arrow. Everett lists out Berdly AroAce, Sans asexual and heteromantic for straight guy. Wow. Napstablook AroAce, Papyrus AroAce. Biangly explains Berdly is very much Arrow or Arrow-coded, and Susie as Grey Romantic, or another similar identity, since her idea of love may be unclear, as Noelle seems like her first crush experience. That's very valid. I never thought about that. I like that. And finally, Image Eye Carp says one more for Papyrus, and how he feels like he just has to date Frisk, but also once called Mettaton sexy. So, leaning more towards possibly just being Arrow rather than AroAce. And last but not least, I wanted to wrap up with some comments that were left on my post, in case these people didn't reply to the forum. It's hard to tell. I was trying to look at their usernames. I think some people replied to the forum and the comments, which is fine. I'm going to try and read most of the comments that I got, but also just try and read, no offense, the insightful ones. I get that you guys just were sharing your opinion, but I cannot read off everything. You could also visit the post to read the comments. I haven't a clue says, as an AroAce person who's been headcanon Berdly as AroAce since Chapter 2, I'm over the moon to see this post. The parts in Chapter 2 where he talks about his crushes on Noelle and Susie have always seemed fake to me. Like he was just taking any girl around him about whom he had positive feelings and deciding he had a crush on them. That reads as very AroAce to me because I definitely did the same thing before learning about aromanticism and asexuality. I was worried that Chapter 5 at the festival might show something that would disprove this headcanon, but it actually made it stronger in my mind, with Berdly immediately accepting that people he had a crush on aren't interested in him, seemingly without any sort of sadness or regret. This proves in my mind that these crushes weren't actually crushes at all, and that he never actually had romantic feelings for them. He probably just liked the term platonically and mistook the feeling for romance. I really hope Berdly does end up being confirmed AroAce because Toby Fox has so many characters that queer people can see themselves in. I'd love to have someone like that for this community, and I think Berdly is the perfect character to do that with. I agree. I don't particularly think that it will be canon, but it would be so much more awesome if it was. KBucks W9Q says, I headcanon that Berdly is pansexual, because I find it really funny how despite anyone's gender, he will just shoot his shot for the sake of shooting a shot. I like the idea of Curdly, which I know won't be canon because probably a lot of people would hate it, and I don't think Berdly deserves Chris. But Berdly is literally my favorite character. I really don't like it when people say his character development in Chapter 2 was instantly reverted. Well, yeah, duh. He thought Chapter 2 was a dream. So he's not going to keep the character development from what he thinks is a dream. I also think Chapter 5 is very interesting. He is so supportive of Noelle and Susie, I think it's very sweet, and I wish we got to walk around the festival with him. I wish that too. I know AroAce people can date people because aromantic can be a little romantic attraction, but that's just not how I see him. I think he truly wants a relationship, but he's just really doing this because he wants attention. and a relationship would give him that. He knows this, so I think he deserves someone that can give him his attention that he deserves. Also, Chris doesn't hate Berdly. If they did, they wouldn't have gamed together before, which is implied in multiple instances, such as when Berdly talks about Chris cheating in games. So no, Chris doesn't hate Berdly. That's my opinion. I understand. I don't particularly agree, because I obviously am for the Berdly AroAce headcanon, because I think that, I don't mean to come off as hostile or, unagreeing with the comment, because I do like this different point of view, and I do think that people are free to think this, but in my personal kind of retaliation, my one point is, you do acknowledge that aromantic people can have romantic attraction, and I think somebody did go on to explain, it's not always just having, a little romantic attraction. It's very more complex. And I just think Berdly's a more, I guess, appealing character if he is kind of representative of the community, even if he does get into a relationship. But I also mentioned I do like Curly and AroAce Berdly separately, so I can kind of see what you're saying. And I do, he would be a pansexual. If he's not AroAce, then he's pansexual. So I do understand where you're coming from with this. Miso Soup YouTube. Yes, Berdly is so aromantic. I know that Bird doesn't actually feel romantic attraction. I feel like his crushes on both Susie and Noelle are just because of social expectations, and he doesn't really care for them romantically, especially because of Chapter 5. At the festival, he's completely unbothered by them now dating each other, and is rather supportive. And I don't know what else to say. No, Miso Soup YouTube, this is good. This is a recap of everything. Berdly does not gaff. Okay, his crushes are dating. You think that would break your little heart? It didn't. He did not gaff. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I don't have much to say myself. Y'all said it all. Alright. It was kind of hella fun writing this script because it was more screenshots than writing, but editing this video is going to be a bitch. So bear with me. Also, soft launching PNG YouTuber, but it's just bad Mew sprites that I drew. Well, that's it. That's everyone. Thank you to all of you guys who responded. That meant a lot because I was worried I wouldn't get any responses. I'm glad I can make this video for you all, and I hope that you've enjoyed it and that it lived up to your expectations. I apologize if parts of your responses didn't make it into the video, and if I can, I may publish the responses and link them below. I invite you all to have productive conversations about what others and myself have said in this video, and please treat each other with respect. I plan to move forward with this series of investigating some popular identities or headcanons in the Undertale and Deltarune community, as well as looking for some more fandom feedback when I make those videos, so look out for more forums. Once again, I hope you've all enjoyed, and thank you all for staying patient with me. This was quite the video to edit, and I'm not somebody who typically edits very heavily, but I hope it was good. Bye bye!